Monday morning, 18th of August, and it is 2 minutes to 9 EST, 2 minutes to 2 for me in the UK. And we will take a look on the indexes from last week, and we will work our way to the NQ on the lower time frame. So I'm just going to work into sequential order. So we'll look on the NQ and the ES first, both on the daily and the weekly. I've changed it from a quadrant more to just a vertical grid, just so we can see all of the price action in terms of where we are in terms of these extensions. So on the NQ, really important to pay attention to the fact that we have completed most of my targets on the weekly time frame. Those were pretty much these equal highs, 22,500s, all the way up there now, 23,600s, and of course that daily negative 100, which is just under 24,000, which is a huge level that we've completed on the daily. And that was the first high to high extension from the traditional out of the Trump tweet, which was obviously this draw here. And again, that comes from the wider or the broader monthly extension draw from 2022 lows all the way up there to 24 highs. So we are in clear extensions, and we have completed so many now, it makes sense to probably take a little bit of a breather. And of course it lines up with the seasonality, which you can now see nicely on TradingView. So I think it only shows you 5 years worth of data. I use equity clocks for 13 and 20 years worth of data, but cut a long story short, I did put a message in the Discord in terms of the seasonality on average where we are. Now, I am a bit of a contrarian most of the time, so I don't always pay attention to averages, so to speak, in terms of seasonality, because obviously anything can happen at any point in time and things do change. But the reason I sort of bring that up is purely because the BX has officially turned red. For now, it hasn't closed, so I won't pay attention to this in terms of a short signal, so to speak, until it closes today. And on the ES, that'll be the same. So the ES is pretty much trading, will be trading close to that level as well. Let me just move this up to, sorry, it's trading above. So the ES is slightly stronger than the NQ. I'm just going to select 0 on this coordinate and lock that in place. Same on this one as well, just for the BX, just so I know when it turns into the 0, and just lock that in place. I've done that on the main indexes as well, just so you can see on the smaller time frame. So again, daily on the BX is turning red, but hasn't turned red. Weeklies are still bullish, but we have had lots of weekly completions on the NQ, which obviously is a signal to potentially, maybe these larger traders are taking some profits, potentially looking to re-add on some pullback. So again, it just makes sense to be cautiously long as opposed to parable, long right when we had that Trump tweet all the way back in, what was that now? April this year, which was obviously the buying opportunity, which is where for the past 2 quarters, I obviously have pretty much made my whole year profit. So Q1 and Q2 have been really, really good. And I think Q3 is probably going to be a bit more of a consolidation into Q4, which is typically what we do get, again, seasonality. So going to the smaller time frames, obviously this is the trend from last week. We pretty much rejected previous day highs on most of the days on the NQ, and very similar on the ES as well. And as I like to trade with the trend, as you guys know, I don't mind missing some of the move. Like I said on Friday, I'd want to see the NQ above the highs to be able to take a long. Of course, that never happened, so we took the short, and it was a good day on Friday. It was just slow, but again, still same methodology as always, sticking to those levels and just letting them play out. Going into today, we can have a look. In fact, we'll go on the daily, then work our way down to the smaller time frame. So the daily extensions I have on the NQ specifically are these on my screen at the moment. So it will start from the traditional, and then the sort of smaller extensions inside this whole daily are going to stem from the 30th of April to the high of the 2nd of May. Traded that traditional on the RTH session. These are all RTH draws, therefore I have more sort of importance on them. And you can see I've marked here a double completion on the dailies, which pretty much lines up at 23,000, call it 100, right, with a bit of variance between those two levels. So I'm going to just remove them off my screen. I just wanted to pay attention so you knew where they were. And I'm just going to leave what would be the next potential. This is still in play. So because this is still in play, what I can do, in fact, I will just show you. I don't think we get this anytime soon, but the one thing that I would be paying attention to is whether we get a same Ankenu low, which pretty much just puts us back down into potentially taking out the low from a couple of weeks ago and maybe coming down to support to rebalance some of these candles from June, which would be nice to get a rebalance down to 22,100. Obviously isn't going to happen today, so I'm not going to keep it on my screen just for now. I will set an alert just so I know it's there. But going into more of a lower time frame point of view, because those daily levels take time to trade, in terms of the lower time frame levels, there is the extension from last week, which I want to bring your attention to just so you can see what I'm looking at. And this is an ETH draw. So this is actually traded on the electronic trading session. There wasn't anything tradable on the RTH that is basically on a half an hour to a 2 hour candle for me. So all I could see is the daily 50 that held. And inside that, we traded a halfway back, which was the 5th of August. That went all the way to its completions last week. Again, that's why I've drew the ETH full completion. That's at -100. Inside there, you have the high to high, which we traded last week. And that went all the way to its -62 as well in blue. Please let me know if the levels are visible and you can see them okay. It's important for you to be able to see them because, again, without that context, you won't really know what I'm referring to. But again, that is the daily -100 from the previous traditional. And inside that, there is a high to high, which is that 62 again. So never traded the 100, but it did on the traditional. So for now, that will be a look above and fail, which is from these highs. So all of this here is a look above and fail until proven otherwise. That does not mean we just constantly look for shorts. We just be aware of that level as a potential look above and fail, and we wait for that BX to turn and close red to get any further confirmation on potential shorts. Going into today, what I will look for is I drew these both anchors here just to show you where they are. So this is the high, this is the completion. You can draw the same anchor new high as a potential support area, and that obviously is where we currently are, and that's where we were on Friday. So we bounced on there on Friday, and we are pretty much back down to there today. I'm just going to make these larger for you so you can see. And if we go down to a 5-minute time frame, you can see how we've traded on the open today so far. So the range currently for the past 10 days is 293 is what we can expect on the ETH time frame. And we've currently traded 142 of those points. So we have about pretty much 50% left for the full session to trade, which obviously isn't a lot of range, but the RTH will obviously give a little bit more. So it's whether the ETH expands or not. If it doesn't expand, pretty much expect 150 points to trade, which is what has traded on the overnight session so far. So going into today, I've got my trend line down here, which so far lines up with the previous day low from Friday, which is actually very, very coincidental. Don't normally see those levels line up literally within one tick. But yeah, the level is pretty much, you want to stay above Friday's lows. If you fail below Friday's lows, it will be a sit on hands or short environment. I'll have to see if I take shorts. Again, I'd rather have the BX turn red, but I did take a short on Friday and the BX was green, so it isn't an end all be all, but just in case, just keep an eye on that. Pretty much, again, lines up with Friday's low, so that's really nice to pay attention to. You don't have to have another level on your screen. That is the level today. Obviously, that's dynamic, so it does change throughout the day. So those who pay attention to in the Discord, obviously I'll update those levels. I don't have the RTH just yet because the RTH hasn't opened, but in terms of ranges that we can expect today, pretty much is going to be 24,000, which is again is that daily -100. So it'll just be a slow grind up into there. Not a sexy trade. Downside wise, if you do get below RTH low and that trend, you do have completions down into potentially coming down into 23,600. So range is quite small. I'm not really going to expect too much today. Expectations will be low. No news Monday. I don't think there's much going on until Wednesday, and even Wednesday is only FOMC minutes, so it's only things that's already been discussed. So probably won't get too much going on until the end of the week. I am away Friday because I'm going away to a log cabin for the weekend, bank holiday in the UK. So it will just be a 4-day week for me. And yeah, we'll see what we can get, but my expectations today do remain quite low, and we'll just wait for setups to form, and obviously don't take anything not worth taking. So anyone on Discord, I will do a full breakdown of what I discussed in the room this morning in terms of what potentially is, well, what will be coming to the room in terms of a new feature, which is going to help you guys out and also help me out loads. And I will discuss that in the Discord now. So we'll move over to the Discord. Anyone on YouTube watching this who isn't a member, click the link in the description below and you can sign up to a 7-day free trial. Everyone on Discord, I will see you over there.